Welcome back to another issue. I'm Beastie Boy,
I'm Table.
I'm Red.
And it is I, Shino Brando.
and for today we gather an uncanny team of mutants that have yet to have their chance on the silver screen.
All right. So I know we literally just established the rules of how this works, as in they haven't been on the silver screen. And the very first guy I'm going to talk about here has in fact been on the silver screen. But they did him so dirty that he deserves a second chance, because I'm talking about Darwin. And no, it may not have been readily apparent to anyone not versed in the comics when they were watching X-Men First Class that Darwin's mutant ability is survival, period. But that's what his ability is. That's what Darwin does.
That's what Darwin
So-
means.
So to have the audacity, the sheer balls to kill Darwin? We all know why they chose to kill Darwin, to show that they weren't fucking around and that they were very, very serious. Racism. He was just logically the worst possible pick of characters to kill. This guy has turned into literal energy to escape an attack. This guy has teleported to a different country because his mutation decided that was the best way to survive this situation.
Yeeted him to fucking France.
You can't kill Darwin. You just can't. That's the point. So, Marvel, or whoever's got the property to X-Men
Our
this week.
Disney overlords.
Yeah, the mouse. I know we're not on speaking terms all the time, but I beg you, put Darwin in another X-Men movie and do him right this time.
We have
Just-
but one humble plea.
Just read his character description before you put him in, maybe. Check the
Yeah.
history.
He gets a pass for this list because they did him dirty, man.
They did him so dirty.
It's almost like he was barely there and
They
died in
did
the
him
first
dirty,
10
man.
minutes.
Yeah, it was.
Adapt to this. Ha!
Yeah.
Of course he can. He's
What
amazing.
what a shameful scene. It was. I don't know.
Adapt to this. I'm still mad. It's been a long time since X-Men First Class came out.
You should be mad.
I have been mad the entire time.
You should be mad. They did a character wrong for some shit dramatic effect that didn't really have that much of effect.
A lot of reasons to love that movie. Darwin, not one of them.
No.
How Professor X actually gets paralyzed in that movie. Super great. Also, paid off in Days of Futures Past.
Also, Magneto and Professor X's romance takes front and center for a good few portions of that film.
They have a bromance. Anybody that tells me otherwise
Drop the
is...
B.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody that tells me otherwise is wrong and hasn't seen the movie properly.
Anyway, we should go on to someone who actually followed the rules for their first pick. Please.
Brings
Beastie.
it to me. Yeah. So my first pick is a young lady named Armor, or as her real name is Hisako Ichiki. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. If I'm not, then I'm sorry. But
It's not your first language. We'll forgive you.
She's a character who's been born in either Tokyo, Japan, but otherwise she has been in the Mutants or the New Mutant team for quite some time, but someone who's, not really shown up a lot in any media except for the comics. But I think she'd be cool because, it'd be cool to have someone that has abilities of, per se, this, what is it called? Psionic exoskeleton armor is described.
Well, a lot of characters with psionic abilities get fucked over on film because it just becomes the same generic energy blast type stuff. i.e.
Psylocke.
Scarlet Witch in the Scarlet Witch in the MCU, Psylocke in I believe it was Days of Future Past that she got a spot in.
I think that was the one with Apocalypse.
Age of Apocalypse.
Yeah.
There you go. You got me. But point being, they couldn't do that with Armor because her psionic abilities are something completely different and equally visible, so they don't even have an excuse to make it energy blast nonsense.
Yeah, but, it'd be just cool to have another, female character on screen, and plus someone of color, too, because, someone from Japan would just be interesting to see, and plus, let alone the psionic abilities, but, she's very, I guess, durable in a fight, too, so... That'd be interesting.
She's unlikely to get fridged.
Damn.
Don't give her a love interest.
Don't want
Please.
to do that.
But
But,
we
yeah.
always need more Asian rep.
Exactly. And
True,
it's
we
always
got
good
a
to
dose
see
of
more-
that in Penny Parker in Into the Spider-Verse.
True.
True.
Mhm. But one of the interesting things about her, though, like part of her abilities is that she has combat training with her armor from Wolverine and tactics from Cyclops, let alone all that stuff. But the cost of her power, or the like, one of her weaknesses, is that I guess like when her powers can increase, it's when a member of her family dies, which is weird.
She's got John Wick syndrome.
Yeah,
Mm.
and it's
I
like
hate
was
that that's
like,
how you phrase that.
I love that. That's a phrase.
You killed the man's dog, and he's suddenly 1,000 times stronger, and he finds your gold coins. So how does
And-
she John Wick somebody?
Essentially, it doesn't really describe too much, but from what it has said is that like once the ability, I guess once a person has, or a family member has died specifically, right, the abilities can increase, or properties can increase to be as strong as almost close to the adamantium, like adamantium levels. But it's like it depends on the situation, I guess, or I guess the connection to relative per se.
And how many of them are currently dead?
I only know the parents
No,
are dead.
better question, how many are currently alive?
I don't know. I only know the parents are dead mostly. So
That's rough. But
Yeah,
you know, one way
I-
to subvert the orphan trope.
yeah, exactly.
She literally gets power-ups every time she gets a sad trauma moment.
Can you imagine if Batman was like that?
No.
Batman would be even more like you could trade his plot armor for actual armor.
No.
At first his parents go, now he's an 8-year-old with lots of powers. Then
He
Jason
thinks of
goes,
he thinks of crime. He gets like a gauntlet. He thinks of like Alfred. He gets like maybe a shield.
he
Me!
picks
It's a
up
fool.
Jason's body. That's just it. He's now
Yeah,
a
show
world
him
tyrant.
all over the place. Fucking nuts.
My God.
Speed on Dark Knight's metal.
But yeah, that's generally my pick though.
I love her, and I love your decision.
Yeah, thank you. That brings it to Shino.
All right. I can tell most of you guys have chosen some good guys. I went the other way and chose bad guys. Yeah. And they've done the Magneto, they've done the Brotherhood here and there. They've done Apocalypse and the Four Horsemen and
They even did Blob.
Blob. They did Bolivar Trask and the Sentinels, even Silver Samurai to a degree. So, you know, they Mystique is another one, Lady Deathstrike. So they've really gone through almost the whole library. So the ones that they haven't chosen and haven't done, Mister Sinister is my first one here. Yeah.
Okay.
And Mr. Sinister is a personal favorite of mine for a bad guy because he's a nut bar. And again, he likes to play with DNA and genetics. Just totally nuts. Has an obsession with Cyclops and Jean Grey.
Lots
Likes
of people do, though.
Yeah, lots of people do. He's got some.
Yeah, that's why they're in a throuple right now.
Yeah, well,
We love that thruple. Shut up.
he's got a
Shit.
thing for genetic manipulation. He's got a contract kind of bound to fucking Apocalypse, so it makes for some good storytelling here and there. If you haven't checked him out, do check him out. He's a Chris Claremont creation, so he's always good stuff. Chris Claremont knows how to write a character. This guy saved the X-Men after a period where they didn't have any good writers. After Stan and Jack and all those guys kind of left the book, he kind of swooped in and he made most of those memorable characters that you know now. Wolverine is one of them, kind of Proudstar. That whole 1975 team is kind of part of his work. And in that era of time, he made a lot of villains, and Mr. Sinister is one of them. And I'd like to see this guy on screen one day.
Interesting.
Strong case.
Super in. The fact is, he's been like super Easter egged in all the movies, and he didn't show up in the movie he was supposed to, which was Logan.
Yeah.
A sprinkle of him.
I'm
Which would
like,
have made
okay,
sense.
give me this vampire-looking ass with a big jewel in his forehead
This
and make
This
him
lipstick-
mean.
this lipstick wearing mad maniac that I love so much because this guy is he's so much nuts. Like he goes as far as to manipulate people's bloodlines to get his way. He's manipulated the Shaw
Eugenics.
family.
Isn't
Yeah,
that the
he's
reason
manipulated-
X-Man exists?
He's a reason why X-Men exists.
Jesus.
He's partially the reason why Archangel became Archangel. He set up the whole mutant massacre in the Morlock tunnels. He set that up.
Holy shit.
Yeah, he makes for an interesting character because he does a lot of his stuff behind the scenes, and then when he does confront the X-Men, he comes in heavy-handed, very heavy-handed.
He's like,
And,
would you like to meet your son? And then
yeah,
just walks
like
away
he-
into the shadows and moves the hell on.
Well, Again, here's a guy who went around looking for Jean Grey's DNA, created Madeline Pryor, sent her on her way to Scott Summers, made sure she got pregnant, made sure they had Nathan Summers. You know what I mean? He wanted the perfect mutant, and he made sure that the steps were done to make it happen. And he's done that for a whole lot of family bloodlines, including Xavier's as well.
Okay, but like let's be real. Had any redhead showed up in front of Scott Summers, he would have banged her too.
It'd have been a game over, bro.
Scott Summers is not a complicated man.
No, he's everything's red.
I've never met a man that exudes more one pump chump energy than Scott Summers.
You're really right, but I'm not happy that you're that right. Or that you just said that.
Oh man, this man just said Psych is a cuck. Let's go on.
I'm sure Scott would get off on that too.
Let's go on.
Wolverine, hello?
Well, well, that's what's happening right now.
So speaking of getting fucked with genetics, my pick is one Miss Namoritta. Her real name is Namoritta Prentice. She is the half-cousin of the first mutant, Namor. She is the daughter of Namora via genetic manipulation. So her DNA, or well, her mom's DNA, her dad's DNA, some ancient Atlantean DNA was thrown in there because had her mom just had genetic children, they would have suffered the badness of being only half fish people and not full fish people. Mm-hmm. And apparently that real fucks you up when you stay underwater for too long.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Does that family know any other name beyond Namor and derivatives thereof?
It's unclear.
Okay, carry on.
They have a pet dog named Namorex. Come on, you know, it's all in the branding.
The answer is clearly no, then.
So, when reunited with Namor, he puts her into the care. So, her mom dies, her dad dies, her half-sibling dies, and so she's stranded. So, after meeting up with Namor, he puts her into the care of one Betty Prentice, his longtime surface friend, and then eventually Betty dies. And Namorita, just out of pride, because that's who actually raised her and her actual mother, took her last name. She was
Is she cursed?
Probably.
Okay, carry on.
She takes the last name Prentice, just like another Mary Sue character from a far, far away place. Anyway, she was a founding member of the New Warriors. She is the greenest bitch you've ever met in your whole life. If you thought Poison Ivy from the other side of the fence was a green bitch, no. So on the New Warriors, her entire role on that team is to make sure that whatever we're doing, we take into account the ecological effects, making her the lamest character on the New Warriors. And that's a lame team to start.
That's just having an environmental outreach consultant.
I was going to try to find some good pointers about the New Warriors, but I'm not going to do it. So let's go on.
So her nickname is Nita, and I'm going to refer to that because that's much better than Namorita. It's less derivative. After one character named Night Thrasher leaves the New Warriors, Nita rose to become the new leader, and then she's cursed again. So
wait, on what grounds is she leader?
By being one of the founding members and getting voted in.
Oh.
Trust me, you're taking over for Night Thrasher. There's not that big shoes to fill.
There's only going up from there.
Yes.
Okay.
And then she's cursed again. So when Nita underwent yet more turmoil, when she went back to Atlantis and learned the emotional stresses and her depression and like her not being able to focus on things were actually due to the cloning and splicing process that made her. She had been spliced with...
Are you saying she's genetically unstable?
I'm saying she's genetically mentally unstable. She had been spliced with ancient Atlantean warriors' DNA to prevent the problems of being a half-Atlantean hybrid. That caused her skin to go blue and her name to change to Chimera. And on screen right now is the spelling of Chimera.
That's just not a good way to spell that word.
Absolutely not. It's the worst way. But
there's a Y in it.
Yeah. She then dated Johnny Storm.
What?
And they became a star couple.
Johnny, you fucking hoe.
And then became part of the Fantastic Four via acquaintance, just like Alicia Masters is. She gets to be one too. However, then eventually Namorita meets her end in Civil War I, trying to taunt a villain named Nitro. Then he blew up and killed her, the New Warriors team, all of the surrounding schools, and all of the children inside both schools. The only reason she's on this list is because over hopping the fence one more time, we have another sea woman, and her actress is kind of problematic.
Correct.
So, Marvel, take advantage of this. Let's have a non-problematic actress take the fish lady role in pop culture. It's not that hard to find non-problematic people. There's 4 of us right here.
We're all doing our best.
They may or may not do that just because the Aquaman did take off. So
I totally get why they wouldn't.
yeah, there's a high chance they might not. But I mean, hey,
But listen,
if they plan to use Namor on screen, I mean, Rita's not too far behind, I wouldn't imagine.
well, no, I would imagine Namora pops up first, and then we get a joke about a naming scheme again,
Yeah,
and then we get Namorita.
yeah. Like I'm pretty sure she will show. If Namor's coming, she will come. She will show up too. I'm pretty sure.
Well, that was the hint we got in Endgame, where there's tremors underneath the ocean near Wakanda.
Yeah, right.
But that's all we've got. Nobody ever said a name or the first mutant or anything like that. So, still possible.
We'll see.
I think that takes us all the way back around again.
It sure does. So, my next pick, that is following the rules this time, I swear, is Mr. Madison Jefferies, or, as Red was able to first identify him, Jack in the Box. Now, Jefferies has a surprisingly complicated history for a guy you probably couldn't think about. His abilities is the telekinetic manipulation of glass, plastic, and metal into whatever shapes he wants. He also can, communicate with AI and such. So he's got the box spot, who is pretty neat. So Mr. Jefferies is Canadian. This doesn't stop him from serving in the US Army during the Vietnam War alongside his brother Lionel, for reasons we're going to go with.
I'll tell you right now that he gets major points for being Canadian.
Agreed. Hard agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So Madison that's probably how I'm going to refer to him, or Jefferies. We'll see which one ends up coming out of my mouth more. Unlike him, his brother Lionel's ability is to manipulate organic matter. So Lionel uses his abilities to heal people as much as he can, except he once uses it on a dead person in an attempt to resurrect them, and it goes so horribly he loses his mind and turns evil. Madison immediately puts him in a box and sends him off to a psychiatric hospital in Montreal.
That is worse.
The correct response.
That is worse than risking your arm, your leg, and your brother to bring back somebody.
Yeah. Put him in a box off to Montreal. The French will deal with it.
The French will deal with it. Good
You're
stuff.
so funny. The French don't deal with anything. Come on now.
So he goes home and becomes a mechanic for a while. Except, PTSD means his powers flip the fuck out and take over the entire town. The Canadian government, noticing this, contacts Department H and is like, hey, can you do something about that? So they send Wolverine over. And Wolverine shows up and is like, hey, dude, stop. And he's like, I will do my best. And they just kind of kidnap him off to Department H, where he works for them for a while. So he was recruited by Guardian to be a part of Gamma Flight. He ends up kind of dating Diamond Lil. He, however, also went on with other training teams when Department H was defunded. So reasons, I guess. So what happens with his brother is the leader of Alpha Flight, Heather something or other. I didn't write her last name down. I'm apologizing. She looks into Madison's past and finds out that he has a brother. And she's like, cool, let's go meet him. He's got cool powers. Except that the file she looked at didn't have notes about being crazy and evil. So she accidentally let him out of...
Boy, was she surprised.
Yeah, he fucked her face up real bad. Real bad. Which is what happens when you have,
Flesh
flesh
molding
manipulation. Powers. Very scary. Very scary. So eventually Madison and Lillian get married. He does fully join Alpha Flight for a while, but he doesn't really do anything particularly interesting during that time. He's just there and around. After Alpha Flight's reinstated by Department H, after all that stuff happens, he rejoins and he gets knocked unconscious and brainwashed into being evil and called Gemini. And he spends the rest of his history at least a little bit evil most of the time. He takes part in Weapon X experiments, creating stuff. He helps make a brand new generation of Sentinels with like self-replicating tech.
Not good.
Not good. He saves Director Colcord from being murdered by people who were justifiably trying to kill him. He's brainwashed into making the automated mutant death camps. Yeah. He is one of the few mutants who doesn't lose their powers in M-Day, which is cool. Beast is like, hey, what if you join my scientific team to stop all of this nonsense? And like, he kind of does that. And he's kind of cool for a while and helps make a time machine. And then he goes in Utopian's arc to live on the island with people who are like, what if we just lived here and we're only a little bit evil? That went as well as you'd expect. He was around in Age of X-Man doing, history teaching at the Summers Institute for Higher Learning. And then we can just kind of assume he came home, but he's never actually shown after that one. So,
Is he on Krakoa right now?
I think he's seen in the background, actually, of something. Like, I think he's technically there, but I don't think he's been named.
Fair enough. There's lots of these guys.
Yeah.
And Gold Ball brings them all back, so...
So he must be there by default. That's how that works.
Yeah. Namorita's not there, but yours is there for sure.
So I want to see him because I also understand that I did just go through an entire character bio there with you guys because who the fuck was this guy? And I felt I needed to explain. But I want to see him, first of all, because he's Canadian and we always need more Canadians. Second of all, because he's just got a hell of a history and you can pretty much put him on whatever side of a conflict you feel like. Maybe he's evil again today. Who knows? He doesn't. He's got a lot of trauma about it. Mm-hmm. And he's got perfect powers for a support role because how much of the world is plastic, metal, and glass these days? A lot. And that's one of those, I have a soft spot for like underrated powers, and that definitely feels underrated. Like the stuff you could do with that.
The stuff they could have done with Darwin.
Darwin, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, boy. I stand by Mr. Madison Jefferies, even if he has two first names, and one of them is a woman's. And I believe that sends us back to Beastie.
You are correct. But yes, that brings me to my next character, which is Dust, aka Soorya Quadir. Okay, well, I'm assuming, but let's not assume, but that's what I'm assuming. But the character is interesting nonetheless, just because, again, a female character and person of color, especially from Afghanistan. So it'd be interesting to see an X-Men from another part of the world as well, but also in the situation of like, well, let's just say of how she kind of got found, which I will describe real quickly. Let alone being born in Afghanistan, she was kidnapped and then sold into slavery at a young age. A few years later, she got rescued by Wolverine and Phantom X. So there would be some cameos that'd be very interesting.
Yo, Phantom X is cool.
Yes. And then she got placed in the Indian X Corporation base in Mumbai.
Dope.
I think, yes, it'd be really cool to kind of see that, like, expanded, like not universe, but I guess, other,
expanded base of information, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Just kind of see that, happening. But the interesting part of her story, too, for the beginning, is that she hid herself from the X-Men who were stationed there by turning into sand and spreading herself around the complex. Phoenix then had sensed Soorya's presence and telepathically convinced her to reveal herself to everyone present. Soorya announced her presence by speaking a single word, which, again, I'm going to possibly butcher the pronunciation, but it was Turab, which is dust in Arabic. So I think it'd be cool origin, like bringing up, even if it's a small one, and just like introducing her into fold, be like, hey, we got another one here. But we also got this other base of operations that we work with because we're a big team.
So I got a question for you.
Go for it.
So because I believe did we have a sand villain in the MCU already?
You mean Sandman?
Sandman turned up in one of the Sony Spider-Man films.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's about 3, it.
And everybody wants to forget about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just
checking. And the only, what do you call it? I guess
there was a Sand Guardian in Far From Home.
Yeah, not really.
You're thinking of when Hydro
it was the wind one, but it was in the sand area. Got it. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they kind of referenced that, but yeah, that was about it. But otherwise, it'd be cool to see like a transmorphic hero or character.
And I would prefer
So-
her over Sandman, speaking of which, honestly.
Yeah, so it'd be cool to kind of see it, and just more
She
representation
could be
for
literally there the whole time. She could be in any of the movies right now. We'd never know. She just never relinquished herself.
Exactly.
She's
be
there and
hybrid.
thinks everyone's an idiot and doesn't want to have any part of that.
It's like, no, I'm stay here.
Yeah, we've got our own fight in these countries to worry about. I'm not worried about yours.
But you're not wrong. So yeah, that'd be the interesting character that I think should be brought into the silver screen. And obviously, again, like I said, it would just seeing another base of operations would be cool as well. So
Okay.
Shino, I think it kicks back to you, my guy.
All right. Well, my second pick has some loose ties to both X-Men and some old MCU stuff, like the Super Soldier Serum and all that. Arkady Gregorovich Rosovich, also known as Omega Red, one of my other favorite baddies. Just because he doesn't make for a very compelling villain in that he's very menacing in the cerebral ray, but he makes for a really great action. And he does put Wolverine through the ropes sometimes. So it'd be great to see him on screen just for high action scenes. If you're looking for like a good old one-on-one kind of tussle, or even taking on a whole friggin' team, because like Omega Red could, based on his skill set alone. He's got a healing factor like Wolverine's. He's super intelligent. He's got pretty much the same skill set as Captain America. He's got these tendrils that come from his arms that literally suck the life force out of your body, and they also secrete like a virus, like a instant death kind of illness virus. Like it just immediately kills you. He's really dangerous when he really puts his mind to murder. It's something else. He is given full on problems to like X-Force. I think he's even joined X-Force for like a little bit. I think like a version of them. Straight out of Russia, dangerous dude. KGB, of course. Mafia type, of course, was made an experiment unwillingly, was turned into a super soldier, kind of, but it had a side effect where he needed to sap life energy. So that's where the tendrils come in. And he's given Wolverine and the X-Men, in particular Storm, some trouble over the years. In the last couple of years he's been out. He's been kind of quiet on the forefront nowadays. Again, Omega Red is not really a compelling villain to use, but when they do use him, he's something else.
Make it an animated thing.
Make it an animated thing.
You know what?
Put them in What If. Test the waters for a little while.
But live action.
This is
right?
true.
So I can see him live action. But you've already had him animated. In if you've seen Hulk versus, he's in it.
Oh yeah.
He's
Hey.
giving Wolverine trouble. He got his ass handed to him by Hulk, like they all did. But give it.
That is how that works. Yes.
But give it a watch. He was in it. So animated. He's even in the old 90s X-Men cartoon. I think he had like 2 episodes. So it'd be good to see him in something else. Live action would be nice.
Variety.
Again, just because if you're looking for like a mid-level protagonist, someone to like kind of carry
Like a mid boss.
Yeah, mid boss. Someone to carry it in between. Doesn't have to be the main guy, but like you had Magneto, but then you had Toad, you had Mystique, you had Sabretooth. The mid card, and he could carry the mid card even by himself.
And I believe that swings us back to Red. What do you got?
I've got Franklin Richards. So
The ever dangerous Franklin,
A debatable poll, but we'll take it.
the Omega bomb that is Franklin. Go on.
okay, so here's my reasoning on how Franklin Richards gets to count. So A, he's a mutant, no doubts about that. He's got 2 like genetically fucked up parents, and so when they had him, he's got powers. Like the moment he comes out the womb, he's got so kind of powers. His birth is kind of fucked up, and I'll go into that later. Right now in the comics, and I don't like referencing anything directly in our show because that kind of deletes the foreverness of our show. But for this, we're making exceptions. In a recent comic, X-Men Fantastic Four, Magneto, Professor X, and somebody else whose name I don't remember, go to Forever Plaza and go sit down with Franklin Richards, who right now is kind of losing his powers because his father can't keep them stable for very long. And they go to him and says, your child is a mutant. He needs to come with us. And so he spends the entire, I believe it's a 6-issue mini. No, it's 4 issues. Deciding which team he wants to work with and which team he doesn't. And he ends up working with both. And Krakoa, the main island where mutants are getting rebirthed, and the whole X-Men universe is getting respun out from that point.
Also, it's pretty fucked up, but that's an aside.
That's an aside. But, like, he gets to go there. He gets to be an X-Men just because he's there. It's lame. I get it. But everybody's letting me count it. So, here we go.
Basically, he has citizenship. That's how this works. He has mutant citizenship.
Yeah, pretty much. So, a little bit of history. And by that I mean a lot of bit of history. Because this is probably the oldest character on this list. He first appears in Fantastic Four Annual number 6 in 1968. This is an old-ass little boy. His full name is Franklin Benjamin Richards. Big guess on where his middle name comes from. He's currently going by Powerhouse, which I don't like.
Nobody likes that.
I don't like that. No, that's just Franklin Richards. Sorry, dude. Like,
is he the mitochondria of the X-Men?
He might as well be. He was the mitochondria of recreating the universe.
Damn.
Like I said before, his birth was complicated. So just before Sue went into labor to have him, he was exuding so much energy in the womb that the Fantastic Four had to go to the negative zone to get an object, a MacGuffin, called the Cosmic Control Rod, a weapon of the villain Annihilus. Reed succeeded, grabbed it, drained his energy, and used it to help his wife. It's the first antimatter epidural, is what it is.
Same said energy in a possible future would turn Franklin Richards into Galactus.
He manifested his powers so early while he was still in his crib, he accidentally created a pocket universe. Later, he tried to use his powers to make himself an adult, and then took on the name Avatar.
Oh.
But that's trademarked, so we had to change that.
Yeah, so Disney's not going to do that. But because way to flip yourself the bird basically twice. Because by the time we get to this character, we'll have Avatar 3. I'm still not convinced Avatar 2 is happening, but that's just me. So
it probably shouldn't.
He then realized that he was not psychologically mature enough to handle that much power, so he took a verse right out of Kanye. So he put himself back to a child and put dampeners inside of his own brain that as he psychologically matured, he would literally grow into his own powers.
The dude self-regulated before it was cool.
Literally.
During Secret Wars, one of the Illuminatis, you know, Marvel's super secret team of all the brightest minds, his powers were going to be used to protect the two of the universes from colliding together. The 616 universe and the 1610 universe. And, well, Reed decided to experiment on his own son, and once Sue caught him and pulled him out of this damn machine because it wasn't going to work and it was going to murder this boy. Yeah, saying that Reed Richards was in the doghouse would be the understatement of both universes. Luckily, well, I guess luckily for Reed, his entire family gets destroyed because both planets crash into each other, and he's the only one that makes it on the ship to Battleworld.
Luckily, I don't think is the word that usually would be used in the context of someone's entire family dying, but at least in this one I kind of get it.
They came back, obviously, by Mr. Fantastic ending up on Battleworld. He gained omnipotent power by talking to Multiple Man and the Beyonders, and bringing not only his family back, but the entire Future Foundation, and brought them all back to life. And right after Secret Wars, Reed Richards and their entire family were off creating little multiverses and repopulating, like, the entity that is Eternity. Because once Battleworld existed, Eternity was kind of dead, because there was only one thing ever. And so they were helping a dude out. This boy is the strongest mutant to ever be born. And also,
very scary.
This would give a child actor, that a really, really skilled child actor, a big role to just grow into, literally.
Be a role of a lifetime.
One hell of a contract.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
You sign contract to, go on as a child, and by the time you're a teen, you're the strongest thing on the screen right now. Deal. Forever. You're making Disney money till the day you die.
Depends. We gotta get his parents on screen first.
Well, that's true. Then they gotta yuck.
He'll do it again.
Goofy, no.
They do. That's why he has a sister.
Exactly.
And she's
Who
got the
is
same.
8 and should stop being sexualized.
Let's do a round of honorable mentions, shall we?
Sure, I only have 2 of them, so it'll be real quick for me.
Let's go back to the beginning. Table, you got any?
Yeah. Go on.
The only other character that I wanted to drop was Spiral, who is 99% of the time a villain. She does very scary things to people with her 6 crazy arms. Her origin story is a temporal paradox. She can see through time and dimension, which fits in with a lot of weird shit that X-Men's been doing for forever.
You fucking
And-
got that right.
I wanted to talk to you guys about one of the most horrifying things that she was involved with.
Go on.
Spiral spends most of her time working for Mojo, right?
Yeah.
And her arch nemesis is Psylocke. Mhm.
Uh-huh.
She was involved in various cybernetic modifications for Psylocke.
Mhm.
One of them was she gave her cybernetic eyes, which doubled as cameras for Mojo to spy on the X-Men.
That's correct. Yeah.
Hella invasive, but alright. The worst thing she did was, I'm gonna read directly from the Marvel fandom wiki on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Along with Mojo, Spiral played a role in Psylocke becoming Asian.
Yep.
Originally, it was believed that the two literally transformed Psylocke from being British to being Asian, but it was discovered that Spiral, without Mojo's involvement, transferred the X-Men's mind into the body of the Asian assassin Quenon.
Mm-hmm.
Right now,
Do you know why that happened?
No.
Because they needed an Asian member on the team.
ah,
So instead of just making a whole new one or returning someone like Sunfire, because he was a member, they transported one who was a white woman into an Asian woman's body so that she was sexy again.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna come in with the redemption though.
Okay.
So right now, both the Asian woman and the person who was her consciousness there for a little while
Mm-hmm.
are currently 2 separate people, and the consciousness person really doesn't want to use the name Psylocke because that name belongs to that body.
You know
And
what?
she very definitively says, that's not my name. I haven't decided on a new one, but that's not me.
That's pretty cool.
That's in Excalibur, if anybody wants to read it.
I haven't been reading that.
Redemption.
Good old Psylocke.
But Spiral is cool. She's got 6 arms. She has magic powers to the point where she was able to temporarily steal Captain Marvel's energy powers and beat the shit out of Iron Man. Just saying. She'd be great on screen.
Spiral's dangerous. Spiral's dangerous as all shit, man. She's giving the X-Men a run, especially the time frame when they I think they had Longshot on the team when he came from Mojo World. Crazy. She's crazy stuff, man. She's not someone to play around with. She's dangerous and very skilled with 6 arms and very sharp blades.
Well, fun fact, because you mentioned Longshot, her origin is heavily tied to Longshot in that initially Rita Wayward, which is her real name, and Spiral were intended to be separate characters that because they both appear at the same time on panel. But what happens is when Longshot returns to Mojoverse, Rita comes with him because she loves him and they're dating. And then Longshot immediately gets captured and she also gets captured. And whereas Longshot just gets mind wiped to forget Rita exists, Rita gets tortured, experimented on, and brainwashed until she becomes Spiral. She spends some time babysitting the X-Babies, and eventually she ends up going back in time to start herself on the path to serving Mojo. Okay. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
We love temporal paradoxes.
We do.
She's neat. But if I don't ever get to see her in live action, I'd live, you know?
You make it.
Beast, do you got any honorable mentions?
Yeah. I got one. It'd be a quick one, but the boy known as Pete Wisdom, which is basically in the easiest way possible of explaining, he's the mutant James Bond, just a bit, like more of a dick.
So he's like Cyclops, but James Bond.
No.
No.
See, Cyclops is just a dick. That's it. This guy's James Bond, but a little extra dickish. A little different.
British dickish, as you will.
Fucking Pete Wisdom. Hot knives.
So what I'm hearing is spotted dickish.
Yeah.
Spotted dick, yes.
That's right. Quail dickish.
Huh? Please
Yeah,
do
we're
go
belly.
on.
Yeah. Anyways, nonetheless, it would just be cool to see his abilities, which is again referenced already, hot knives, which he can absorb ambient heat and solar radiation and release absorbed energy from his fingertips as a semi-solid energy projections called hot knives. I don't know, that'd be cool. Just kind of see a little bit of like a sassy, douchey British guy. Just be like, hey, I'm part of MI6 or MI13, whatever, and just
And
gonna kind
pulling
of
the
cool shit.
1,000-degree knife challenge on everybody he meets.
Basically.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's good stuff.
Pete's all right stuff, man. He's okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Until
Shino,
he
who you
breaks-
got?
Oh, I was going to say until he breaks Kitty's heart, but that's another day too. I know. My honorable mention is the entirety of Alpha Flight because I mean, no one fucking gives them love, so give the entire team love, man. Every last one of them.
Canadian.
Guardian. That's right. Well, Canadian love, all of them. Snowbird.
You know what?
Puck,
Fuck it, Sasquatch. Let's go.
Sasquatch, Guardian, Vindicator. You know what I mean? North Star, Aurora, all of them. The whole squad. Just give them love. They don't ever give love. They're often forgotten about. I think they've had like 2 appearances in like 2 different cartoons, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I think like maybe like a brief mention on screen somewhere for like in like one of the X-Men movies, but that's about it. Like nothing else. And I mean, if you're gonna show off Wolverine's origins, Wolverine, like, you're gonna give this guy some origins. If you're gonna dive into there, at least give them a little cameo, something, a little something.
I'm in. I'm sold. They get lots of
I
points
think-
for being Canadian. Lots of them.
And you've got a whole ass cast. Like,
You've got a
that's
movie.
a team.
You've got a movie.
Yeah.
They rep the entirety of the nation, right? You got everybody coming from Ontario right down to like BC. So I mean, they cover Canada that most of the world doesn't know. Most of the world thinks Canada's Toronto, and that's about it. I think the only one from any territory is Snowbird. She's out of Yellowknife.
Oh,
That
shit.
counts. Yeah,
That's
that'll
fantastic.
count. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so that's about the only one. Shaman's out of Calgary. He's a First Nations medicine man. He's out of Calgary. Yeah, and Sasquatch out of BC. Aurora's out of Montreal, Quebec, with her brother North Star. North Star being the first openly gay character in Marvel.
I think he's also the first
Screams.
gay married man in Marvel.
That's correct as well.
Screams in Kazoo.
And you have Guardian and Vindicator, both from out of Ontario, I believe. And funny thing is, the two of them shared their name at one point. Guardian, James McDonald, he had passed away, and so Heather Hudson, the wife now, I think she had picked up the mantle by taking his power suit and reworking it to her favor, and took the name Guardian. But then, of course, as in all comic books, this guy came back to life somehow, some way, and he took back his mantle. So she became Vindicator, and then the whole squad kind of lengthened out to having both the husband and wife and the whole rest of the squad on there until they kind of shut down and made way for a whole new squad, which had, I think, Flex, Matt, a very strange period of time. Murmur, Radius, Flex, characters you would never remember, and it's a time period of Alpha Flight that I don't really like too much either. Late 90s, early 2000s, not a very good time. But give me the classic stuff, and I'm good to go.
All right, my honorable mentions.
Please, Red.
I've got Maggot, and mostly I just want to see him on screen because one of his incarnations anyway has a literal maggot just hanging in on his body, and I want to see the CJ on how they do that.
I don't like that.
Japath out of Africa, no?
I believe so.
Yeah.
My other one is Gabriel Kinney, aka the Honey Badger.
Does he give a fuck?
A, doesn't give a fuck. B, is directly related to X-23, therefore related to the one and only Wolverine.
Of course.
And she was what made the X-23 books and the X-Men books there totally sufferable. Because her character was awesome. I think she even runs into Dupe, and I think they're best friends. My last one is Morph.
That maggots are his full digestive system on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Just
Shino?
because he's gross.
Shino,
Yes.
I am less happy than I was 30 seconds
now,
ago.
now that you know that,
I am less happy about this character existing at all.
his maggots are giant sized maggots, the size of probably like like a forearm, and
No.
they eat anything, and that's his digestive system that you're watching eat.
I don't like it. Red, you've brought a couple of good pulls, but that one is cursed.
Okay, my last one is Morph, and it's specifically the one that's currently dating Blink in Exiles.
That's because you like Blink.
Maybe. That's a hard maybe. Listen, I would want more Blink, but unfortunately, Blink showed up in Days of Futures Past. And while I like that incarnation, and she does all of her powers right, and I'm totally fine with it, she already showed up. So Blink can't make my list. But Morph can.
No. Also, big mentions to Marrow, because I forgot about Marrow, and she's also cool.
Yeah, Marrow was also on my list. Again, you can totally tell what kind of X-Men I really like.
Yeah, I know what time period yours.
If it's Age of Apocalypse, if it's ever so barely early 90s.
Yeah, you're deep into like between Age of Apocalypse and like Heroes Reborn. Like you're in that time frame. Yeah,
and then Axis is cool, but that's it.
Yeah, it's okay because that time period is pretty fun because it gave a whole bunch of characters back that we didn't use for like a long time, like Maverick and all that. So cool stuff.
All right, anybody else? One more honorable mention.
Well, I think between the four of us today, we have presented at least 3 more X-Men movies worth of content.
Oh yeah.
Okay, wait, no, Wiccan.
Forge. We can go on.
Listen, this is such a deep well. We could do an episode 2 for sure.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, one day we'll have to do a Worst Mutants episode for sure as well.
Oh,
there are some dumb ones out there, but I don't know. Are there any mutants as bad as Arms Fall Off Boy?
I don't know. Maggot was pretty gross.
Yeah, but like at least his power isn't that his
Stacy
limbs
X.
come off like a Lego man.
Stacy X, because she just makes you go off on your pheromones and just makes you horny, and that's the butt of the joke.
Oh, you've mentioned her before. You've mentioned this.
Yeah.
Ugh.
What a power.
Oh, there's one mutant. He attends the school, but his literal power is just to blow up, and that kills him, so he's only got one power one time.
Oh. Wait.
Shit.
I don't remember his name, but that guy wins.
Does he...
On that literal bombshell. Beastie, could you take us out?
Yeah. Oh, God. It's depressing.
Uh-huh.
But...
How does it feel to be the worst mutant to ever live?
Actually,
you never lived. You had one day. Go on.
Our Twitter is at Crusade Nerd. Instagram is at Nerd Crusade. And we upload every Wednesday to YouTube. And you can download any previous episodes or listen on your mobile device to the Anchor.fm website or wherever podcasts are found by searching Nerd Crusade.
To be continued.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this issue, go ahead and button mash the thumbs up. If you want to swing by when we have a new video, web up the subscribe button on YouTube or anywhere you can to listen to our podcast. And to be updated to know when a new issue is out, hit the bell to be notified by